Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the African Wahala. Man, I've had so many technical issues. I have to apologize before going into the live stream. And I also have to apologize about the background noise because I am not in the studio. My computer decided to break down. It's not working properly. It almost seems like the universe does not want us to talk about some African Wahala, some Nigerian Wahala to be precise, but we're still going to talk about it regardless. So I salute you guys. Thank you for coming through. If you like the content, you're watching live, drop a comment. You can see the phone number scrolling at the bottom, the WhatsApp number. Feel free, call in when the lines are open. You can chip into the discussion. Let's get into it. So we're starting this conversation with Tinubu. Tinubu says Nigeria is currently destroyed as a result of everybody's actions. So the poor people, the rich people, the politicians, the common man, the masses, everybody contributed to destroying Nigeria, according to Tinubu. And he also says it is our responsibility to fix Nigeria. Okay, that's the first thing we are going to talk about. We're going to talk about the Plateau State governor and his entourage, including his wife and friends and affiliates. They came up with a budget of 74 million naira that they're going to spend on a trip to Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, for some convention that has to do with international marketing, whatever. It's going to take them about 3 days in Dubai. And then right afterwards, the governor, according to the article, is going to see his medical doctor. Okay. And then they will take a trip to the United States for another 2 days. The entire breakdown, I can't really share my screen. I would have shown you guys the breakdown of how they came up with the 74 million naira. We're going to talk about that. It's unfair, right? That brings me to the third topic from Uganda, an East African country. The Speaker of the Parliament in Uganda died in a hospital in the US, Seattle, Washington. Just to show you guys how it's very common for African leaders, politicians, to always seek the best medical treatment abroad. Because in their countries, they've refused to build top-notch healthcare infrastructure. And they don't have any trust in their medical system. They don't have any trust in, the medicine that is practiced in their countries. So they would always spend money in going to Europe, to America, to Asia, anywhere else where they can be treated. But we all know that the common man does not have access to such treatment. It belongs to the elite. We're going to talk about that as well. And then we're going to briefly talk about the Oba of Lagos. The Oba of Lagos came out and he was praising the police officers for opening fire, shooting at protesters during the endsars campaign. We are going to briefly touch on that as well. So like I said, if you're just joining, feel free, drop a comment. If you want to call in at some point, the WhatsApp number will be open. It's scrolling at the bottom of the screen. You can call in, drop your contribution. Let's hear your point of view in this conversation. So let's start with Tinubu. Tinubu says, Nigeria is in a dilemma. It's in a situation where it has been destroyed by the politicians and the regular people. And it's our responsibility to fix the country. That's what Tinubu says. And I have to be honest, in my opinion, I agree with Tinubu to an extent. Okay, even though I don't believe anything Tinubu says. On a good day, you're not supposed to believe anything that Tinubu says because of Tinubu's track record. Yeah. And if you think about the fact that Bola Ahmed Tinubu, a presidential candidate in Nigeria, with his numerous negative track record, he's still able to come out and contest for presidency When in a normal society, people like that are supposed to be in prison. But that's what Nigeria has to offer us. A country where corrupt elites, whether they are from the political space or the religious space or the traditional space, they are usually rewarded with bigger responsibilities, with opportunities where they can make more money. That's how it works. And then the poor people that commit crimes, they are the ones that prison is meant for, not the rich elites, including Tinubu. So when Tinubu comes out and says, everybody contributed to destroying Nigeria, I agree to an extent, because at the end of the day, an average Nigerian today is contributing to the destruction of the country. You know, we are a kind of people where we have adjusted to always cutting corners, to always taking shortcuts to achieving goals. And for that reason, people hardly follow rules. You find students in secondary school, when it's time to study for WAEC, SSC, they usually get all types of expo. You know, they get all the documents, they cheat easily, and nobody feels guilty about it. And then they get into the university, their university lecturers are cheating them. They sell handouts that are not regulated by anybody. So they are milking the students dry. And then if the students can manage to graduate from university without having to exchange their bodies for grades, that happens to girls a lot. If they get to the working space, they will probably have to know somebody that is connected at the top before they can get a job. You know, we no longer have a society of merit. But how did we get to this point in the first place? Well, I have to tell you guys that it is as a result of the activities of the elites for the last 40-something, 50-something years. At some point, the guys that were in control of Nigeria, especially in the 70s and in the 80s, the military guys, the Obasanjos, the Muritala Mohammed, IBB, Sani Abacha, all those guys, eventually, they legalized corruption with nepotism, with impunity, and they made it possible that the institutions that are supposed to check and balance people's activities are no longer powerful, because individuals in the political space, especially, and the guys that are so-called elites, they've become more powerful than the institutions, so they can't go to jail. And that's why we are in a situation that we are in today. And Bola Ahmed Tinubu also took advantage of that corruption with impunity, because Bola Ahmed Tinubu, there are so many allegations leveled towards him, starting with the Alpha Beta company in Lagos, a company that takes taxpayers' money from Lagosians and remits it to the tax inland Lagos LIRS, Lagos Inland Revenue Service. Okay, so Bola Ahmed Tinubu's private company, Alpha Beta, or at least it's a company that he owns a huge share in. That company takes money from Lagosians and remits it to the LIRS, Lagos State Internal Revenue Services. And that loophole has made Ahmed very, very rich. Tinubu, he's become extremely rich. He's a billionaire. As a matter of fact, he was at the convocation, 25th convocation in LASU, Lagos State University. He donated 1 billion naira. In a normal society, people should be questioning, how did this recent public official have 1 billion naira to donate? But we know the answer. He got his money from corrupt practices. I've mentioned the Alpha Beta company. Prior to him being the governor, there were allegations of him being a drug peddler in the United States. And then he became the governor in 1999, served for 8 years. During that period, he amassed so much wealth through unscrupulous means, as usual, as expected. And like I said earlier, the institutions are too weak. The judiciary can't investigate these guys and send them to prison. The private individuals that are politicians have become more powerful than the judiciary. And we are in a situation where we just can't move forward as a people. So when Bola Ahmed Tinubu says, you Nigerians also contributed to destroying Nigeria, and I agree with him to an extent, if I would give my own personal estimation of how much the masses contribute to the destruction of Nigeria versus how much the politicians contribute to the destruction of Nigeria, I would say even though the masses make up 99% of the population, they only contribute like 20% to the destruction. But the 1% that are the so-called elites in the political space, especially the religious space and the traditional space, you see these three categories of people, they contributed 80% towards the destruction of Nigeria. And that's the simple truth. So when Tinubu came out in the Lagos State University convocation ceremony, he was represented by the the deputy governor of Lagos, right? And then he was saying stuff about, yeah, we need to fix this country because we all contributed to destroying it. All he was trying to say basically was, you guys need to support me so that when I become the president, I will fix this country and we're all going to be in a good place. Please don't believe Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Okay, I am campaigning against him. My voice might be little, but I still have to do my part. Because what will happen is, if Bola Ahmed Tinubu becomes the president, the suffering that we are currently going through will double, and that's a guarantee. If Bola Ahmed Tinubu really had solutions to the problems that we have today, he should have given some of those ideas that he has to Buhari, the current president. After all, they are in the same political party. So if you guys are in the same political party and you share the same mandate, why can't you share your ideas with Buhari? Of course, we know the answer to this. You can't share your ideas because you have no ideas. The only ideas that you have is to put it on your resume that I was once the president of Nigeria. That is Bola Ahmed Tinubu's ambition. And he said it. It came out recently, about 2 weeks ago. And he literally said, my lifelong ambition is to be the president of this country. And that's all he said. This man hasn't come out to give us any explanations on how he would resolve the insecurity problems or the economic problems or the fact that millions of people are jobless, roaming around, crime rate has gone through the roof, no infrastructure, government officials are constantly traveling abroad for medical reasons because the average citizen cannot travel abroad, so they are forced to use the deadbeat hospitals. If Bola Ahmed Tinubu, till this day, has not come out to tell us what he plans to do to solve the problems, then I don't understand why anybody would support him. Well, I lied. I understand why people would support him. Some people are just naturally biased. You know, they are victims of divide and conquer. Some will support him because, oh, he's from my Yoruba tribe. Oh, he's a Muslim. Oh, he's similar to me. But at the end of the day, they are all going to suffer the consequences of electing this guy. And I say all of that to say this. You see, as far as elections are concerned, it's almost hopeless to change the situation of Nigeria through an election. But the only way we stand a chance in using an election is if a huge number of people come out to vote. Because if that happens, it'll be more difficult for PDP and APC to rig the elections. Because that's what they do all the time. PDP and APC, they are the two most prominent political parties in Nigeria. They rig elections all the time. Last time, APC was the successful party in rigging the elections. That's why they won. But if many people turn out and vote, then it will become more difficult to rig elections. And that's just the truth. And I would encourage people, if that's the route you choose to take, if you want to change things through an election, then you better start encouraging more people to come out and vote in huge numbers, because that's the only way that we can make a difference. If that doesn't happen, the next 2023 elections is going to be a joke. It's just going to be a poverty verification card, according to people. The PVC that they call the voters card, it also means the poverty verification card. So when you select people or elect people in 2023 to rule you, they will verify that poverty, that has been existing for so long. So please don't believe Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Okay, let's go to the next topic of conversation. The Oba of Lagos. No, before we go to the Oba of Lagos, we're going to go to Uganda, an East African country. So Uganda, the Speaker of their parliament, you know, they don't have the constitutional democracy like Nigeria has. They have something that is slightly different, where they have a parliamentary system of government, all right? As opposed to senators and House of Representative members, they use parliamentarians. Now, the Speaker of the parliament in Uganda, he had some sickness. He was flown abroad to the United States, Seattle. And then he died after a few days in the hospital. Before he died, a bunch of Ugandans in Seattle, they organized themselves and started protesting outside the hospital that this is a disgrace. Our public officials need to stop traveling abroad for medical reasons. They need to go back to their country and use the medical facilities that they've provided for everybody. And that is reasonable. That was the same thing that we Nigerians did when Buhari went to London in 2021, and Nigerians took it to the next level. But it was as a result of the momentum that was built up from the endsars campaign. You know, endsars happened, the government violently crushed it, so people were extremely enraged, emotional, right? So they took that energy and went after Buhari in London. While Buhari was trying to get medical treatment, people were protesting non-stop in front of his house, in front of the hospital, everywhere that he was. And then eventually the protest tapered down and everybody went back to their houses. Fast forward in 2022, Buhari has gone to London again for medical treatment. But this time around, nobody went out there to protest. You know, we need to keep that momentum burning all the time, but it's difficult, man. I mean, I can only do what I can do. I can remind people that whenever you find these guys in places that they are not supposed to be, you need to make them uncomfortable. That's what we are supposed to continue doing. Well, I guess just the same way that it seems like we have, what's the word now? When people easily forget stuff. Is that amnesia or, you know, when you easily forget stuff, it's like we Nigerians, we easily forget the trauma that we've been passed, that we've been put through, especially by the elites. So much so that right after endsars, so many youths that were campaigning that come 2023, we are not going to support any of these people from that generation. Okay, the guys that have been in power, that destroyed the judiciary institution, that makes it impossible to send them to prison after committing crimes. We're not going to support any one of those guys, including Tinubu, Atiku, any one of those popular names that are recycled over and over. We're not going to support them. Fast forward, some of the people with the loudest voices talking about, we're not going to support these people. Now they are campaigning for them. And then you wonder, what's happening, man? Why are we easily forgetful? But it is what it is. The Ugandans, anyways, they started protesting about the speaker, and they wanted him to go back to Uganda. But the guy died, unfortunately. And when he died, it became a tribal issue. The same way we divide ourselves in Nigeria along ethnic lines. Something similar to that. That's how Ugandans started blaming themselves. They were like, oh, you guys from the north. Because they claimed it was northern Ugandans that were mostly protesting against the speaker's hospital visit. So they claimed, you northerners better not come to the south because you guys are against peace and justice in this country. But the fact is, the real people that are against peace and justice are the elites across the board, whether it's Nigeria, Uganda, wherever they are. The elites that constantly travel abroad for medical reasons, okay, because they can afford it. Sometimes they use state money. They use public money to take care of themselves abroad. Meanwhile, the vast majority of the people, when they fall sick, they are forced to go to the messed up hospitals, okay, that exist in the country. And that's why people are upset. It's not rocket science to understand why we are constantly agitated, talking and just being angry at the situation, because we are dehumanized to the highest level. Imagine you fall sick, you have malaria. Now you're forced to go to UCH Ibadan, or you have to go to one of these other hospitals that are dilapidated. You need to remember that these hospitals have no constant supply of electricity. They have no running water. Sometimes hospital staff have to go fetch water from wells to come treat patients in the hospital. So these hospitals are trash, okay? And I'm just using the hospital as an example. The same example can be said across the board when talking about other amenities like schools. Right now, ASU is still on strike. ASU has been on strike for a couple of weeks, maybe months. No resolution. Government is going about its business like nothing is happening. Meanwhile, the kids of the government officials don't school in those ASU affected universities. They school abroad. So when people are upset that why are you not sending your kids to these public schools so that maybe that would improve the way you relate with ASU? And they tell you, no, we're not going to do that. Like recently, a House of Representative member from Edo State, he put up a motion that all public office holders' children need to start schooling in Nigeria and they need to stop schooling abroad. And everybody in the House of Representatives unanimously turned it down because it goes against them. They are the real Nigerians. The rest of us are second-class citizens. We are not Nigerians like them. You know, same thing happens in many of these other countries in Africa. So it's not far-fetched why people are angry at the way the government people are behaving, because you can't continue treating us like slaves and think we're going to keep quiet. Eventually, our backs are going to be against the wall and we wouldn't have a choice but to come back forward towards you. And that's the simple truth. So let's go to the next story. We have the Oba of Lagos. He comes out and he's commending the police officers that shot at endsars protesters in October of 2020. If you guys remember, the Oba of Lagos, his so-called palace was invaded by angry youths. They were swimming in the swimming pool. They ransacked the entire house. They looted the house. So I believe the Oba has his personal vendetta against the youths for doing that to his palace. But the truth is, this Oba in himself, in my opinion, he is useless. There is no point having an Oba. You're supposed to be a ruler. You're supposed to be a almost like a refuge for the people. But you're not a refuge because you are a collaborator with the political class. You know, when these traditional rulers started collecting salaries from the political rulers, then there was a conflict of interest. There is no way either side can hold either side accountable because they benefit off each other. The political class will tell the traditional class that make sure you tell your constituents, the people that you govern over, the people that you rule over traditionally, make sure you tell them that they have to thumb print and support APC or PDP when it's election time. And if you don't, there are going to be consequences. The consequences might be maybe we would cut the financing of your traditional institutions, the salaries that we, the government officials, give you per month. We might cut that out if you don't coerce your followers to support us. So that's how the political class benefits from the traditional class. And the traditional class benefits from the political class by getting money from them. Stolen money. Money that is supposed to go around and take care of the entire population to an extent, at least. Money that they're supposed to use to build good hospitals for us. Money they're supposed to use to build good schools, good roads, and good basic amenities, electricity, water. They use that money to take care of themselves, their traditional counterparts, and the religious counterparts. They do the same thing. We saw what happened with Taribo West recently, praying fervently for Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Obviously, you could have told that money has been exchanged somewhere. That's the only reason why that guy was being so desperate, pretending like he really cared about Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Neither one of them cares about each other. Bola Ahmed Tinubu doesn't care about Taribo, but he's trying to use Taribo's platform because Taribo is popular. Taribo doesn't care about Bola Ahmed Tinubu because the only thing he cares about is the money that he would make from Bola Ahmed. And that's the fair exchange between them. But the people that suffer the consequences of that relationship is us, the common people. And that's why we need to stop giving too much credence to celebrities or popular figures unless you know the content of their character. You can't just revere people because they are popular or because they have a huge following or because you like what they do. Maybe the guy is an actor, he's a musician, you like his movies, you like his songs, and then you decide to allow that person speak for you politically. That's wrong. Don't give those people the power. They are all beneficiaries of the system. And like I said earlier in the beginning of the live stream, when Bola Ahmed was saying everybody is responsible for the destruction of Nigeria, which I agree with to an extent. But the people that collaborate with each other are more responsible for that mess. Okay, so I said all of that to say this. The next topic of conversation is the Plateau State Governor, Lalong. So Lalong has a meeting in Dubai where he's supposed to be there for a few days with some delegates from Plateau State. The meeting is about some international investment between Dubai and many other countries, right? So this meeting is supposed to be for 3 days, but they come out with a budget of 75 million naira that they are going to spend. It includes logistics, transportation, accommodation, sightseeing, obviously shopping, and stuff like that. It's crazy because these guys, after they are done from the Dubai, they will travel to the United States of America, okay, for personal visits, including all the aides, the governor, his wife, some other people in the entourage. And then after that, they're going to go for medical treatments, according to the article that we saw. Now, these things wouldn't have been exposed if some new media organizations like Sahara Reporters did not put this information out there. You wouldn't have known. It would have been something that, within the Ministry of maybe Tourism or the Plateau State government, they would just arrange the money, dispense 75 million naira, and they will travel across the world, come back to Plateau State, where people are living in extreme poverty, the vast majority of the people. And they expect the people not to be upset. Or maybe they just don't care. They know that if the people come across this information, they might be upset, but we just don't give a damn. If you can be upset, that's your business. It's insane. It's important we continue calling these people out, showing them that we can see what you're doing. And right now, that it's kind of difficult to have you prosecuted, okay, for stealing public funds. Eventually, the pressure will be too much and you guys will be caught. Eventually, you're going to pay for these crimes. Some of you guys have already escaped. Okay. Some of these guys, the elites, the political elites, they are now called elder statesmen after living lives of crime for decades. Life where they have stolen public funds, deprived the people of basic amenity, deprived the people of human rights for decades. 30, 40 years. And then right now they are in their 80s, octogenarians. They are chilling in their houses, and then new politicians go meet them in their houses and say, hey, sir, please, I want you to endorse me. I need to contest for this political position. A criminal is going to meet another past criminal to endorse him to continue the criminality. That's the system that we have. And it's going to end eventually. It might not be soon, but eventually it will end because it's not sustainable. It's a system where a tiny fraction of the population, the elites, they have access to the vast majority of the wealth and they've refused to share it with equity. And that's where the problem is. If the vast majority of the people are hungry, they are starving, they have access to nothing, no lights, no water, no basic amenities, no petrol. But the tiny fraction of the population that are the elites, they have access to everything. And if they don't have access to that stuff in the country, they can easily travel abroad to get access to that stuff. And the people see these things happening. And we've been seeing it happen for decades. And now we are beginning to speak up. We are beginning to react. And eventually, the reaction will kick these people out. Will force them to either flee or be held accountable. Our reactions will force the rejuvenation of the judiciary institution so that eventually it will be possible to probe, investigate, and prosecute corrupt public office holders. Instead of what we have now, where corrupt public office holders end up campaigning to be the next president. And I'm going to end this conversation with Atiku Abubakar. Atiku Abubakar finally came out and declared that, yes, I want to be, no, that was Peter Obi, sorry. Peter Obi came out and declared that, yes, I want to be your president. But Atiku Abubakar, that's who I want to talk about. Not even Peter Obi, because I don't really, Peter Obi has a decent track record. Okay, so I'm not going to be too critical. The only thing I don't like about Peter Obi is the fact that he is with PDP. And PDP, just like APC, are criminal organizations, in my opinion. These are not political parties. These are organizations where people plan on how to enrich themselves at the expense of the majority of the people. So, Atiku comes out and says, yeah, Nigeria is not a united country. We need a one unity, one Nigeria, a united country. But clearly, Atiku is lying. Obviously, we know he's lying. Secondly, if you look at Atiku's track record, he was vice president for 8 years. He became a billionaire during that period. Before he was the vice president, he was once like the Comptroller General of Customs. When he was doing that, he had already stolen hella money. And then he became the vice president, stole more money, gained more powers. And then when the country kept on depreciating, he had lost electoral campaigns. He ran away to Dubai. He relocated because he's a billionaire. The guy has stolen all our money, so he can afford to buy a big house in Dubai and not return to Nigeria. Besides, in Dubai, he has access to a decent life, 24-hour electricity, no armed robbers, no kidnappers. What else? Good hospitals. You know all that good stuff that comes with all these foreign countries. Fast forward 2021, Atiku comes back from Dubai and starts saying, I'm back to rescue you guys from the problems that I was a contributor to. Because Atiku contributed to the destruction of Nigeria, just like Tinubu. And then he comes back and says, I want to be the president because I can resolve the lack of unity in this country. Without a doubt, Nigeria is no longer a united country, especially in the last 7 years. The unity in Nigeria has gone down the drain completely. You're constantly hearing people talking about, oh, the next president must come from the south. And then you hear some other people say, the next president must come from the southeast. And then some will say, no, the next president must come from the southwest, otherwise the southeast will be agitating. And then some will say, no, the north must retain the presidency, otherwise we're going to riot. That is clearly not a unified country. That is a bunch of countries forcing themselves to be together. And until we have that conversation, until these crazy political elites come together, organize representatives from different groups in the country and have a conversation about what the hell are we doing? We have been talking about, oh, this country has great prospects. Oh, this country is the future of the world. We've been talking about it for 30-something years, 40-something years. But that hasn't happened. So what the hell are we doing? That's the conversation they're supposed to have before an election. But more than likely, that is probably not going to happen unless the pressure that we are applying eventually makes them cave in. Maybe that could happen. Maybe. I hope it happens. I hope before an election, they have a genuine conversation, including us, not just them. They have to invite all stakeholders. Have a conversation about what exactly are we doing? How are we going to go forward? Are we going to remain as one country? Or are we going to restructure the entire thing? because that needs to happen. If that doesn't happen, another election happens, the results are going to be the same, guaranteed, 1,000%. There is nothing changing that. So with that being said, right, Atiku Abubakar, do not believe what he has to say when he comes around and tells you that I am here to solve your problems, to save you from the carnage that we created. I was one of those that created the carnage. That's Atiku. And I'm here to rescue you from that carnage. Please don't believe him. Already, there are so many people that are victims of weaponization of poverty. They don't have a choice, because when Atiku's supporters hand in 2,000 naira or 5,000 naira to each one of these guys, they will take the money because they need the money. And when they take the money, they will vote for Atiku. So to reverse that, number one, people have to come out in large numbers and vote. Because if you can come out in large numbers, that way you can negate their ability to rig the elections. If we cannot come out in large numbers, the election is a waste of time. Trust me, it's going to be the same suffering, the same pain, the same sorrow, the same lack of anything after the elections. That's how it's going to be. So with all of that being said, I'm going to round up this conversation, and I'm going to end it up by saying, please do not believe these people. They are going to disappoint you. And if you choose to support them, you choose to support PDP, APC, Atiku, Tinubu, all these people, be ready to deal with the consequences after 2023, because it will come. There will still be more suffering, more poverty, more insecurity, more terrorism. Okay, they can't explain why they haven't been able to solve the issues of terrorism since 2009, and this is 2022. The only thing that has happened between 2009 and today is there are more terrorist groups, there are more terrorists, and there are more billionaires out of the Nigerian military ranks. So if you do the math, you can tell that a lot of money is siphoned. Money that is supposed to be used to fight terrorism, it ends up in the private bank accounts of a lot of top generals. Okay, and these are the things we need to continue talking about, because eventually the entire thing is going to cave in. So thank you for joining the African Wahala this morning. Have a great day. Peace.